So, short video on how to move a fighter. So, for argument's sake, you're busy operating your scoreboard, you've got fights going off, there's points coming in, points galore, or it's happening through. For argument's sake, fight comes to a finish and it's gone through, and the coach comes up or fighter comes up. I'm on next, I'm on here, I'm on the next area, I'm on two areas at the same time. Oh, I've got a fighter. Basically, there's an overlap. They've entered multiple categories, they're in two areas at the same time. They can't do it, or they're quite close together. Obviously, don't do anything while that fight's underway. Wait, tell them, well, when this fight's finished, I can amend it, just get them stand there. Or you send them to the hub. So if you send them to the hub, we'll deal with it. But if you've got the chance to do it, so you'll see on your screen, because you'll all have the scoreboard, you'll also have schedule. Whenever I open all the areas, every area has a schedule. So you'd go to schedule, and for argument's sake, it's Carl Lindon. Carl Lindon's telling you, oh, I can't fight, I'm in the next area. So, okay, saying he's on at 1:30, so you grab the cross and pull it down, just drag it down, and that's moved him down. Easy as that, yeah. Or Franz Jepson comes up, so you grab the cross, you can see you can move it, you can move them up, you can move them down. When you're moving them, always move them down the schedule, because if you cross the timeline, which it's not very clear, but you see that line there, so some of you may have heard me saying at the moment it's 7 o'clock at night, so this will refresh and I'll catch up, yeah, but that's why the time's there. So if I moved ISCO past the timeline, what this will do, it will cock the scoreboard up. Can you see how that's just knackered the scoreboard up? Yeah. If it happens, it's not the end of the world. If you know what you've done, then you know you've got ISCO, so you'll just pull ISCO down in front of the timeline. So as soon as you pull him back in front of the timeline, refresh it, fingers crossed, it's buggered it up. Yeah, but don't worry. Yeah, don't worry if that happens. That's when I have to then sit tinkering about and suss what's happened. Points, ISCO, points, this one. So put ISCO back there, see if that was it. So as you can imagine, trying to do this on the system is not easy. There you go. See if this does it. No, I've well and truly buggered it up. But that is a good example why we always move down the timeline, never up the timeline. So if this happens, if I can recombine the category, because it's the points fighters, so it's 1 of 4. Let's see, by doing that, it's brought it back together. I should tidy the timeline up. Yeah. Something I need to remember, because that was a quick fix. So you saw the timeline was buggered, you saw it affected the clocks, but now we're back in. Yeah. So always move it down the schedule. If you're not comfortable in moving it, don't move it. Send them to the hub and we'll move it. If there's ever an overlap, it's something that we can always stop. But that is how you move the timeline. Yeah. So you go to the schedule. So again, you can see when it's not split into matches, the timeline's more apparent because you've got 1 of 4. Yeah. So if we award a win, that'll then take that to 2 of 4. So you go back to schedule, see how it's changed to 2 to 4. So the timeline updates, but this is the timeline because you've got 12, 13, all these categories that will work their way through. Yeah. Does that make sense? So now if I split this into matches, you'll start to see that timeline again. So there's the timeline. So just get cocky. Let's cock the timeline up. Let's take the final before. So what has happened, we put the final before the bronze, or we put the final before the semi-final. So the system goes meh. Probably won't do it now. Can't even cut the timeline up if I try now. But let's not. Let's focus it's the final. Yeah, because it's the final. The final wouldn't do it. But anyway, so you can see you can't always break it, but that's where it is. So hopefully, if you need to move the schedule, move it. If you're not comfortable, don't. If any cock-ups happen, that's where I get involved and I start fiddling around and undressing it and getting it back to in a working format, which blows my mind. Cheers.